but we did have one idea. Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?
Yeah, sure, Ryan.
Welcome back to WD Magiccast for the week of September 25th, 2022. This is episode 196. WD Magiccast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Gracon. In this week's show, Isaac and I talk about some of the news that has come out recently from Marvel and talk about some of the upcoming things that will be coming to Disney+. Also, I got a survey out here. Surveys are back. Woo! Surveys are back. Question was, 3 episodes in, what was your take on Star Wars Andor on Disney+? The answers being, or options being, amazing, getting there, could be better, given up already. 0% of you said giving up already. Thank goodness for that. Definitely give it a try. It's definitely worth it. 0% also said could be better. Nice to hear that. 20% said getting there. So we got 20% getting there, which means an outstanding 80% said it is amazing. That is great to hear. So thank you to all who voted. And we'll get you more surveys soon. Fortunately, that one was only on Twitter. I have been having trouble with Facebook to try and get the polls out on there. Let me try again and see what happens. But definitely look for it on Twitter, where we're at WD Magiccast. And, we'll be putting the surveys out there. Follow us on the Facebook also, because we may eventually be getting on there. So facebook.com/WD Magiccast. In the meantime, first of all, I would like to apologize this episode getting out so late. Personally, been having a lot going on. September and into October is a very crazy time for my life personally with the kids and everything. And you probably can't blame me. Kids come first. My podcast comes after that. So I'm fighting to get you guys an episode every week, and I do plan on keeping that up. Just be patient. This is why it's always important to subscribe, so that way we know when the new episodes come out. On a more somber note, I do want to go out and say my thoughts and prayers are in our hearts. All go out to the people of Puerto Rico and Florida and to the Carolinas, but the Florida and Puerto Rico who have lying wake of Hurricane Ian. It's sad. It is devastating. Unfortunately, the best I could do for you right now is pray. But if you, the listeners, also can do, if you could donate or help out in any sort of way, please. Some people have nothing now, and they have to start again their lives from nothing. They lost their house, they lost everything, all their possessions. It's sad. It is sad, and they're in our thoughts and prayers. But if this little podcast of ours, can just help you escape and smile for a little bit, then we've done our part. And on that note, we'll be back after these messages from our friends and sponsors. And now, on with the show. Some say D23 was the ultimate expo for Marvel and Lucasfilm, but not so much for the parks. And others say the Comic Cons between San Diego and New York Comic Cons are the ones that really hit it out of the park. But not all news comes out of those events. A lot of times, the studios intentionally, or just a matter of timing, release stuff after the fact. Case in point, Marvel Studios has had a lot of news happen since D23 and ahead of New York Comic Con, which is a few days away. And here to discuss it, because I think some of this stuff needs to be talked about, is the man who has his pulse on the multiverse and may be best friends with the Watcher, Isaac. Welcome back, Isaac. How you doing?
It's a pleasure to be back on this podcast, Matt, with these lovely listeners, man. Thank you for always having me on, man. I do appreciate that.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So yeah, as we were saying, and actually you brought a number of these things to my attention, even that Marvel's been busy recently.
Yeah, no, yeah. Marvel kind of, so, for the people out there, granted this may be coming out a little late, but for the people out there, so it's no secret that a couple of days ago, Mr. Ryan Reynolds himself gave a special update to what's happening with Deadpool in his YouTube channel. And of course, the biggest news that came from that broke is that no other than Mr. Hugh Jackman himself, who has played Wolverine, is coming back to reprise his role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Which again, with everything that Hugh Jackman has said to himself, that he said that he wasn't going to come back to the character. So to kind of see him pop up in Ryan Reynolds' video, I think was a big shock, and as well as a major delight to every fanboy in the not only the MCU, but for people who are big fans of X-Men in general.
I am not. I would say I'm completely surprised, but I'm not completely surprised. I knowing how much those roles meant to Hugh Jackman, I can't say I'm completely surprised that he did come back to it. Even though he was done, he was never going to do the character again. Logan was the final thing, but you also have to take in consideration this is not the company he was dealing with before. Everything else was through 20th Century Fox, 21st Century Fox, and that production house, it wasn't directly related through Marvel. This is directly related through Marvel. Ryan Reynolds, I'm sure, personally asked him to come back. I'm sure some other people may have gotten involved in that discussion, and I can't say I'm fully surprised. And considering that they've worked together before with these respective characters, albeit in a less than stellar movie, but they've worked together before, so it's they have a camaraderie, they have a working relationship. I don't know what their relationship outside of the theaters are, but they have that working relationship, and I think if it wasn't a solid enough script or concept, I don't think he would have gotten involved.
Of course, one would want to believe that. hopefully the script's going to be good. Anything that Ryan Reynolds, I think, has done up to this point has been pretty stellar.
I haven't
Um,
seen Free Guy yet.
no, well, yeah, I haven't seen Free Guy either. I'll admit that too. So I would say everything that he's done has been stellar, though. But I will say that one thing that Ryan Reynolds has been a pretty impressive master right now, and that's marketing. And
Yes.
the fact that Disney and Feige were smart enough to just kind of let Ryan Reynolds do Ryan Reynolds, even to the fact that they've given even Reynolds the permission to kind of release this kind of information on his YouTube channel, I think shows a lot of comfort and faith that all the stuff that he did when he was under the Fox umbrella is comfortably carrying over to Disney. And so it's good that they recognize, don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I might have messed that up, but that's saying. But yeah, I think it's just smart that you just kind of let Ryan Reynolds do his own thing. And again, like you said, Reynolds and Jackman have actually been pretty good friends offset. If you ever pay attention to the social media, they're joshing each other in every moment that they can on YouTube videos, on his channel, on social media. They're always constantly going at each other whenever they have whatever they have the chance. Uh, so yeah, in a weird in a weird point, it does make it's I guess not really surprising that Reynolds was able to convince Jackman to come back to reprise his character one more time. However, if you had had the option to see the follow-up video that was
Mm-hmm.
released and
I
their
have. I was about to bring that
explanation,
up.
yeah. So, it does explain a lot about the differences between Logan being in a completely different universe, and then it goes into a lot of impressive, detailed information about the details of what's going to be in Deadpool 3,
I'm quite
which is
surprised they
very
were so
entertaining.
open about all that.
Oh yeah, no, I think it was very detailed, very very skilled. They dropped everything within a couple of minutes, man. I might have to
Yeah,
go
I
to
mean,
review it.
they
It's
just put it all
incredible.
right out there.
Yeah. So, so with that was now bringing it back another character too. I mean, well, what does this? So to kind of even touch upon where are we at with the Marvel with mutants moving forward now? Because now this is kind of like, granted, Deadpool's now coming back into the fold, which is great. And it seems like what version do you think we're gonna get with this iteration of Wolverine? Because you have to think it 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 may not be the one under Bryan Singer that he's been playing for the longest period of time.
It, it's hard. I don't want to speculate too much onto that. I really don't know which version of Wolverine Logan that we're going to be getting. One thing that they brought up, which is a very good point, Logan takes place in the relatively far future. So in fact, oh, he's dead. Well, yes, but no. It's like Black Widow's dead, but we still got a movie about her. So that one thing happens. It's not necessarily happening in our realm of time. Things are timey wimey, wibbly wobbly, kind of all over the place.
And to jump in, since this is also the multiverse, this could be in a completely different multiverse altogether. So,
This is the
we have
phase
to,
of the multiverse, yes.
yeah.
So does Doctor Strange kind of open up a portal and pull these two through? I mean, I know nothing. That's we don't know. But as I think we've discussed in the past, they've been dropping lots of subtle hints about mutants coming into the MCU. Even just at the end of Ms. Marvel, the kind of not saying anything but giving enough inference in certain statements to imply there is something else other than superhuman characters who've been created by a super serum, or a radiation, or something, some outside of body, uh, catalyst. So this is a complete surprise. Also, Kevin Feige, since day one of the Fox acquisition, has been on record about saying how much he likes the Deadpool films. So the fact that he's giving Ryan Reynolds pretty much carte blanche to just keep going at it, like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. To Feige, the Deadpool franchise is not broke. It it serves its purpose. It's got its following, and it's done in a very caring and loving way. Is kind of a weird way to describe it, but
I would
think
say
accurate.
a little crass, but yeah, I guess you said you could throw in love in there. Care and love in that.
But
Care and love from crass. Care and love.
no, because Ryan Reynolds, it is a passion project for him. This
Yes.
is something that he championed for him, from the beginning.
Well, you have to also remember too, the only way that Deadpool ever existed is because somehow remember there was a video concept of the fight scene where it's just Deadpool kind of chilling on the New York Parkway, and he drops into these bunch of gangsters and starts fighting each other. It was a 3D concept that apparently got leaked, quotation marks, onto YouTube, which actually got the campaign started to get this film going. So,
Mhm.
because that's the latest craze. If you want to ever get something pitched, just leak it onto the internet and see how people will react to it. Which basically got the attention to Fox to kind of actually pull the trigger on it. And since then, it's been one of Fox's well consistent money makers in terms of X-Men properties that they had, and now it's properly a part of the DC. Whoa, MCU. Whoa, what is
Watch
that?
your mouth, young sir.
But
What kind
yes.
of backdoor shenanigans are you trying to imply here?
Oh no, it's so dark. It's but yeah, and also too, they also the Fox contract, the X-Men contract does go on to 2025. So it's not like they didn't have Hugh Jackman under contract, well, the older contract anyway, that they could
Which
just kind of
would,
play with.
depending on wording, generally would become property of the new owners.
Correct. But so it seems like maybe Disney was able to kind of use that to their advantage, to be able to sneak him in for at least one more film until that contract kind of breaks apart, and I feel like they'll kind of go back and to reset the X-Men franchise anew. But I know I think it's fun news for everybody involved. I think again it's also starting to make sense with all these other things too. The fact that you're bringing back a lot of these old actors that played all these superhero people. You know, we saw this. We saw this in Multiverse of Madness, bringing back Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and then a couple of months before that, Spider-Man, bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So, yeah, I think it's really gearing up to what we're gonna have in terms of Secret Wars, which is bringing back all these actors. Now we just need to bring back Wesley Snipes back with Blade, and I think we'll be pretty much good.
Well, I mean, there was talk about that, but the other thing I do want to bring up about Deadpool is that uh, you know, a lot of people are, the Mickey Mouse Corporation will never let an R-rated movie be made. They never do such things. No, this is going to be the same Deadpool that everyone's familiar with. Again, Ryan Reynolds is helming it, the same guy who helmed the other two movies. They have used Deadpool in promotional stuff for other products. Was the one was the one thing where you had Korg and Deadpool talking to each other. They were promoting. What was it? Which movie was it?
Free
Mm.
Guy.
Oh yeah,
It was Free
yep.
Guy.
So this is not. This isn't going to be most likely watered down.
Although you have to remember, I think there wasn't a lot of cursing in those advertisements, but there was a little bit of an edge to it.
But I'm just saying this
Yeah.
is a embraced IP that they are, and Marvel's been slowly pushing that edge to stuff that is not as necessary family friendly. I mean, they run the gambit to stuff that's a lot more family friendly to stuff that is going to be a little less family friendly, or depending on demographics. Let's put it that way. So I don't think we have anything to fear. I don't think it's going to be, people like to stereotype Disney controlled properties that, oh, it's going to be this and it's going to be that, and they're going to do this to it, and they're going to do that to it. Disney is very hands off when it comes to some of these things, like the Marvel stuff. Like you said, it's not broke. It's making money for them. Why should they get any more involved than they need to be? So I think it's going to be in a good place. It's going to be the type of Deadpool movie that you'd be expecting, and yeah, uh, it should be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it. I've seen the other two. I'm looking forward to the third one, which is going to come at some point. And the fact that Wolverine's going to be in it is even better. We have just under 2 years now to wait for that. September 6th, 2024 is the anticipated release date, or the um, bookmarked release date. These things can change with time and whatnot, as production things can happen during production. Uh, Schedulings get switched around. Like Ant-Man Quantumania was supposed to come out in June, and The Marvels is supposed to come out in February, and that got switched up. Now we're getting Ant-Man Quantumania at the beginning of the year, and the Marvels in June, in the middle of the year, because things happen, things change, like directors leaving,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what we call a segue.
Speaking of directors, which is actually a really good segue. So, on top of all this exciting news about Hugh Jackman coming out, there's not so great news right now in terms of the Blade film. So, from where I got my information, I basically got my information from Deadline, that uh, unfortunately, with the Blade movie, they basically end up losing their director, Mr. Bassam Tariq, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Basically, has stepped down from the film, be parting ways with Marvel Studios, as confirmed by Deadline, and
Um,
which is what I
let
got.
me correct you on that.
Hmm?
He hasn't parted way with Marvel Studios. He has stepped
Parting
down as
ways as the
director.
director of the
He's still
film.
involved with the film as executive producer.
Yeah, but again, either way, the fact that he's no longer the director is a little bit concerning to the fact for a film that was supposed to start shooting basically next month. So that the
Yeah,
fact that they don't
timing's not
have
so good
him,
on that.
so the time is not so good on that. Other things that we're starting to learn, and I'm going to paraphrase a lot from the article. Actually, from another article that I got, to the point where we're starting to learn little details about the fact that that the script only has 90 pages done, which is like an equivalent of 1 minute of film time, which is not so
Well,
great. A little bit
I
at the moment.
one
That's
page equals 1 minute, so that they're
yeah,
saying they're projecting that. I read some of the stuff that where this came from the
yeah.
um person on the reporter, for lack of better terms, that put that out there. So claiming that he has heard from a source that the script is approximately 90 pages, which would equivalent to 90 minutes of film with two lackluster action
Action
scenes,
sequence.
and that
Yeah.
is it. That being said, let me rebuttal it this way. Even if that is true, of course, he also goes in that they brought in the guy
Yeah.
from Moon Knight for rewrites to help save this sinking ship. Um, Rewrites in films is typical. It happens in every movie. It happens before the movie's shot,
Hmm.
during the movie shooting, and after the movie is shot, which is when you have reshoots. The fact that he's saying that there's two very lackluster action scenes is hyperbole because
And again, this is
you
just
haven't filmed
kind
them.
of rumor at the moment. This is
Right.
just all he see Shay right now. We
It's
none of us know.
very much like it's hyperbole. That's really what it is. It's one person coming out saying, putting out stuff. Does this guy have a track record of sometimes getting some things right? Yes, he also has a track record of getting stuff wrong, saying that She-Hulk is going to be a disaster and it's horrible. Phase 4 is trash and crashing and burning. We're pretty much finished with Phase 4, and Marvel Studios is still doing fine. I can't say that everything has been a sparkling, shining beacon of their product and their work, but at the that every not every movie is going to be super and wonderful. There's been things in Phase 3 that weren't always great either. So,
Of course, yeah.
um, that's I think it's just people trying to make noise.
And I think, and I will sit down and agree. Yeah, I think this is just kind of how the news junket kind of works. You try to get some information, you try to stir up the pot a little bit, if for will, whatever information that you can sit down and get. Again, we're going only based on the information that has been given to us so far. Um, and then there was another report that Mahershala Ali was starting to be frustrated within the process and stuff like that right now in terms of things getting started um, uh,
But there's nothing
in
of
the movement. So
Yeah, but there's it's kind of funny because there's all this stuff that's being said, and there's nothing, no actual quotes, no actual public, like
which
nothing
is
to
kind of typical, yeah, which is really kind of typical in these things right now in terms of
yeah.
information, though. That also kind of being said, though, with kind of how Kevin with with how things are running at the moment, again, with with things gotten pushed back. Uh, I think a little like again I'm not worried about this project because I think eventually the project is going to finally it's going to be worked. I do feel like the project may end up being kicked back whatever phase that originally was supposed to come out. I think what either was going to be phase 4. I believe it would have to be phase 4
It
because
was
I
phase
think
4 because
yeah
it's slated for a
another
year from now, November
another
November 3rd, 2023.
yeah. So uh, so with that, I'm not super concerned. However, this project was, I want to believe this was announced in 2020. the Blade project was announced in 2020, correct?
Yes.
So this
Yes.
has been 2 years of trying to get this off the ground.
Well,
Um,
remember everything that's been happening in that time frame
yes,
too.
with that time frame again. Yes, we have to make sure that that's also been big a play, in fact, and has kind of pushed production back with a lot of things right now, where you do feel like things are kind of getting pushed into the moment. Um, yeah, I mean, again, hearing all these news, it's uh, again, I'm not completely worried about the things that are happening right now, though. Although, again, and like you said, there are like scripts. Like you said, there's always rewrites even during production. That's also not a big deal. But again, going based on this information that's given to us, uh, the feel that we're this, it maybe in terms of an actor, maybe they don't people are not feeling comfortable about what the script is producing right now, in terms of how it's supposed to feel, in terms of representing the comic books, in terms of representing a cool action feel that, say, maybe people have gotten in terms of the feels of the Wesley Snipes films back in the day. So um yeah, if it is a little concerning when you hear a director leave a film. Again, after 2 years of kind of planning this, and all of a sudden to kind of bail out, knowing the production's going to start in November, it's just usually feels like it's a telltale of not good things happening on set. To
Mm,
when I start hearing directors, so like when directors start to bounce minutes before production, that's usually never good. Um, Again, that's not to say that the film's going to be bad or they can't find somebody, but that usually starts to seem like signs that the production on set is not where it should be. So, with all that being said, again, I'm sitting back. We'll just have to sit down and wait and see what other news that kind of really pops up on this situation till hopefully more things develop. Hopefully, when things kick off in November, things will we'll probably hear hopefully a better tale of what's happening right now. But again, this is what I'm going off of the information that's given.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
is it a good thing to have a director leave? You know, for whatever reason, because to be honest, there was no real definitive other than scheduling conflicts. Um, no,
Quotation, scheduling conflicts in quotation.
right. Um, but is it always a bad thing? I mean, it's happened on many occasions. Just on Disney alone, I could tell you that the movie Brave, they did that. That happened mid production of Brave. They switched out directors. That was studio done. Same with Zootopia. Ant-Man also had that happen where they switched out the director. The director for Fantastic Four was attached to another project, which is slipping my mind at the moment, that he was supposed to be working on. He was attached to, and it was going to be doing. It was working. It was happening, and all of a sudden, nope, he had to step away because 2 days later he was announced that he was directing Fantastic Four. Um, Jaws is another movie that they switched out to directors. Uh, Solo by the Star Wars movie. You know, some people may say that was a good thing. Some people may not. But
I'll
case in
throw in
point,
one more. Yeah.
it's it's a business. These things do happen. So is it disconcerting? Yes, but again, I'm not worried yet. I haven't been given anything to any super big red flags, definitive or with actual proof that the project's in that much trouble. I mean, think about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Your lead actor died right before they were about to bring this thing into production. Um,
No, I'll let you finish on that before I throw my point on that.
Yeah. So unfortunate things do happen sometimes with movies, and it messes things up, and you have to redo things and switch things around. But eventually, can these movies get done? Yes. Now, do we know what Black Panther is? We're assuming that it's going to be a good movie. Do we know it's going to be a good movie? We haven't seen it yet, so that's yet to be seen. But again, I don't have anything concrete to go off of other than this. It's one guy saying this.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
everyone's going jumping on. It's one guy. Um, this is he said the same thing. She-Hulk is a sinking ship, and it's going to be the biggest disaster that Marvel's put out. I've watched over half the series now, and I've enjoyed the whole thing. Is it the best thing out there? No, but it's a series. It's a sitcom series basically, and for what it is good. It is enjoyable. That's the purpose of it. I'm not dreading going to watch the next episode. I look forward to each episode. So to me, that's not a disaster.
No, and no one's saying that is a disaster. But just back up with and I totally understand. Like these conflicts happen in Hollywood all the time.
Oh yeah.
Is situations like that. The only thing that we'll have to back up with with Wakanda Forever the situation is that unfortunately Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul, the person that came in basically as was revealed, learned about his illness was cancer to let him do that. So within 2020 at least they had that wherewithal to know that maybe things would have changed within that 2-year span period. So I think they had enough time to make those changes and pull. Again, this is the same time that Blade was also announced a couple of years ago around that same period. So one would have to believe that both of those things were happening coinciding each other in terms of writing, in terms of production, in terms of getting things together right now. So again, now that we are heading, that production is supposed to start in November, and right
Hmm.
now that we're starting to get these drops now within the 2-year planning between production and writing and make sure that everything happen. Again, like we said, this is just maybe coming from one word, but it's maybe again. I'm not to say that I'm concerned about it, but it is a little bit of a hint that if a director is pulling out so late into the production of things to start, and now that Disney has to go and try to find someone to cover it up, that is just, I'm not going to say maybe, I'll say maybe one red flag is being pulled up. I'm not going to go freaking out if there's 3 more flags where it's like a
Yeah.
strikeout, then it's one situation. So yes, I think again, in terms of this whole different situation, say one kind of knew in the background. I think we all knew in the background, like Feige knew that what um, what Mr. Bosman was going to kind of let them all. I think everybody knew in the background what was going on, even though it was a sad, tragic moment, and to be able to lead into this versus where we are with the Blade film, though. But like you said, I'm not in the same war thought like everybody else right now. This is just one news of information that drops. Things may change up just a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens moving forward with this film. It's just kind of the first one to really drop in terms of phases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
to really worry about yet.
yeah, like I said, it's is it an unfortunate thing? Yes, but yeah, these things happen, um, and movies move on.
Exactly.
Um, Speaking of movies moving on, we have news about Armor Wars.
Yes. Yeah. No. Totally. So what's really cool about what's happening. And so eventually, we all thought that Armor Wars was eventually going to be a series on Disney Plus, because again that's also kind of disappeared since what it was announced 2 years ago, right? In terms of production and stuff. So
Yeah, this was announced in the 2020
exactly the
Gam
same thing.
big series dump. 21, 20, whatever that was.
During that
Like
investors call.
2019, 2020. But anyway, yeah, when they did this
Yeah.
big dump of, oh, we're getting this and 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 this. And then, like I said, life unfortunately happened where a lot of things couldn't happen. So things got shifted around, pushed back, moved, reshuffled. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah. It was supposed to be, and I used the word supposed to be, a Disney Plus series, and now it's going to be a Isaac. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Armor Wars is actually going to be a feature film, which is going to be pretty interesting. Again, this is going to be reprised by Don Cheadle. He's going to come back to reprise his role as as Mr. Rhodes, which Mr. Colonel James Rhodes, which aka War Machine. Yeah, to kind of head into that project. So I think that's really cool, and I think they're bringing S.R. Lester, who was at the original head writer for the series, is still going to remain as one of the scribes for this film. So yeah, other than that, like you said, and just like you said, a lot. This was announced years back. I think originally, again, they were supposed to. This project was supposed to come out in 2023. Now it was everything kind of reshifted. I still think it may be kind of. It seems like it may be pushed into maybe their Phase 6 slate. One would have
Yeah,
to
Phase
believe.
4 is pretty solidified,
Yes.
and I don't see them, if
I
they're
don't know
only
where
supposed to start production next year,
and have
being
that. So it definitely would have to be in 2024
right.
release. So, um, yeah. So other than that, we're gonna Cheetah will be returning his, will be reprising his role in the series Secret Invasion alongside Samuel Jackson as he comes back as Nick Fury. So yeah, other than that, what do you what I mean again? What are your thoughts now that this is going to be turned into a full-fledged film over a series?
Um, and don't get me wrong on this.
Mm.
In some ways, I'm disappointed
Oh no, yeah, no,
because, and quite simple, I've enjoyed this series so much because you get so much more from them.
Disney Plus series.
Yeah, the Disney Plus series, that you get so much more because you're getting, instead of a 2 hour movie, give or take, Doctor Strange being a lot shorter, that was a hour and a half movie practically. Uh and then you get Endgame, that was 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes. But you you get so much more. Like, She-Hulk, we're getting 9 half-hour episodes, so it's about 6 hours of film, or 6 hours of storytelling. Same thing with Hawkeye and WandaVision and Loki. So I have said before, I love the character of War Machine. I love Don Cheadle. The two of them, brilliant. So I was looking forward to getting approximately 6 hours worth of War Machine, and now I'm going to get half that, or a third of that. So that's where I'm disappointed. On the other hand, I get to see War Machine again on the big screen, kicking butt and just being awesome, and get it all in one foul swoop. I think it is great that he is now getting his own movie. So I think that is a great honor and a fantastic move. Like I said, purely selfish. It's selfish reasons that I want more. Um, but I think we were going to get quality either way. Um, I'm guessing that it's just a matter of condensing down the story. That they feel that the story will play out better in a large screen, shorter time frame format versus a smaller screen, longer time frame format. If that makes sense.
No, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, in terms of formats and stuff like that. Yeah, no. Like I said, I think it's I feel your sentiment too. I think the Disney Plus has done a little bit more better job in letting because again, um, with Disney Plus, with television, you do have the opportunity to kind of flesh out the characters a little bit more better, especially like a character like Don Cheadle's character, like with Rhodes, who kind of, let's be honest, has always kind of been the background of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
films. He's kind of be the B-list player and things. To kind of be able to spend a little bit more extra time with Don Cheadle, who is once again a fantastic actor, to be able to kind of spend time with him in a television series setting, to me, I would believe would be far more better because he'll be able. We really get to kind of dive into the characters the same way we've been able to dive with Sam Wilson and Bucky. Same way we were able to dive in with Wanda, Maximoff, Vision, and all these other characters that we've seen right now in Disney Plus. We've really had that opportunity. Characters that have been kind of on the side as B players really kind of get their opportunity to shine and step up to be that A-list role in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as established. So yeah, uh, again, not able to have, like you said, not be able to have that time to kind of develop all these characters, have his character more fleshed out, his backstory, the reason why he does things is a little bit of a miss. On the same token, like you said, he's him being given like the special treatment as being the headliner in his own film in the MCU is also kind of big and exciting. That basically means that they're kind of giving respect to John Cheadle as an actor, and even giving even bigger respect to the character as a role. Yeah, I think it's sad in one way, but it's great in another. I also think Armor Wars has also been, one of those comic books within the Iron Man series. That's a big play in the Iron Man series in terms of, the story of what happens if if Tony Stark's tech is put in the wrong hands of certain people. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the bigger scheme heading into those two big Avenger movies. So in terms of who's pretty much the menace um, for this, because I think another reason too, I think they're gonna go the movie route is maybe because of how what was that organization that was introduced in Miss Marvel was handled? Was it, let's say their first outing wasn't the best. I forgot what it started with a D in the Miss
Oh,
Marvel series.
Was it DEA or something?
Some, no, I think that's
Yeah,
real. I think that's real. Oh
yeah, I
man.
remember who you're talking about. Yeah, I could easily see them being the ones that somehow end up with the Stark Tech and start mishandling it because they are a bunch of buffoons.
Yeah.
And I think it would play out well. Um, hmm, that's interesting. I mean, Armor Wars is a follow up to Secret Invasion, so somehow the Kree are going to sorry, the scrolls are right
Yeah. Yes.
are going to play into this.
And before you continue, it was the DODC
DODC, thank you.
or Doc, Doc or whatever.
Dodoc.
Yeah, do that. Whatever.
Dodoc. Dodoc.
Yeah. Yeah, the Department of Damage Control. Yeah, in that series. Yeah, again, but I but continue. I apologize for that.
No, no, no. You were
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it kind of plays out that somehow that's gonna play out. Now we know Gio's character um, of Rhodes is going to be in Secret Invasion because we've seen him in some form or fashion. We can't speculate that it is him. We can't speculate it's not because who we see may not be who we think they are. It's the whole premise of Secret Invasion. So that character is going to be in it. And so at what point is the stepping off point obviously there's going to be a time gap because that's going to end and it's going to be at least a year till we see Armor Wars, which in that point we're going to have the Marvels, we're going to have potentially Blade, and then we kind of go from there. Daredevil's going to show up at some point, but I think Daredevil's
Phase
24,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's slated for 23. I'm pretty sure it's slated for 23. I have this up, and I believe, oh no, no, you're right. It's 24. It's slated for 2024. So, but you have to believe that they're gonna start production really, really soon on that. So, um, since it's already penciled in, but
Yeah,
yeah, but
but again, everything's fluid.
no, I agree. Um, no, but other than that, like I think in terms of where they're putting it with and again the, the way that they introduced the department of they introduced that team, which because again in the comic books that was a real big deal in terms of them taking over the Stark Tech
Mm-hmm.
and really going ham in the comic books. So just the way that the Department of Damage Control was handled in Miss Marvel kind of made them look like a joke. I mean, listen, they got ousted by high schoolers. So I mean I don't know how much of a threat you could. After that, I don't know if you really want to go and use them again, unless they're going to pull some kind of like, well, that wasn't the real Department of Control, it's
Well,
our
I
horrible subsection of it, or maybe after how they were handled in Miss Marvel, I think the writer's going to pull back on it and say, okay, they'll probably give you maybe a goofy explanation where it's like, well, somebody else is going to come into the fold to change everything up, and now it may become the more dangerous, more serious organization that comes into play. So again, I think there's a lot of options that could be thrown in there, but I'm just saying the Department of the Damage Control, this was not their best outing if you're introducing them into the MCU.
true. But um, well, there's you know, two possibilities there, and go with me on this. Um, if we're doing Department of Damage Control, they can quite simply, and this is kind of how they wrote it for Ms. Marvel, is that it was that one rogue agent who doesn't necessarily define on who Department of Damage Control is, because we've seen them before. There's the same agent that was
Exactly. Yeah.
in Far From Home, but we've seen them before. So it's a larger organization. That was again that one goofy person. The rest of them are just a lot more hardcore and more troublesome. That's one option. The other one I was just thinking of, and I don't think we got a definitive closure on this organization. If we go back to WandaVision, was Sword, and they were messing around with a lot of things that they shouldn't
Oh,
be.
that is very true.
So you have two possibilities there. I'm going with option C here. Option 3, the one that most people wouldn't see coming, but I think will give the best explanation, and that's the tracksuit suit mafia is actually the ones really behind it, and they're the ones that are gonna get their hands on Stark Tech and really cause problems because they really goof up whenever they get something over their heads.
Oh God, no. Oh, ew. But you actually, you actually do bring in a very interesting part that that I didn't really think about. Yeah, the fact that Sword is, like you said, Sword, it was introduced after the events of Shield. You would think the people at Sword would want to get a hold of Stark Tech, and then at that same token, because again, it seems like it's a battle of again with the damage was damage control, and Sword is nothing but an offshoot of the remnants of Shield. So you
Hmm.
would think that people that used to run Shield are these splinter groups that clearly understand Stark's technology, would want to get their hands on it. And then I feel like there's some other players too. Do you think that could come into? That's actually a very interesting question. What do you think the other players could come into? Do you think the Hand would want to get involved into that? Maybe that's a weird introduction. Maybe the Hand would get involved in some tech. Although I know they're more into mystical stuff like that. They're more like
Yeah, they're
they're
more
more
on
of
the
a weird
mystic
cult,
end.
more of a weird cult. Another thing too that maybe that I could kind of maybe weirdly see, who was Shang-Chi. We remember the at the end of Shang-Chi where her sister kind of takes over the basically takes over his father's former organization.
Yeah.
One would have to believe um, has plenty of resources across the globe if they want to be able to establish some type of dominance. So one would maybe have to believe that maybe she gets her hand on some tech too. If you want to be able to establish yourself as a bit player in the world in terms of crime and organization, maybe she comes into play, which could also be the catalyst to the sequel, where Shang-Chi might have to talk to her, encounter her sister on that. So I think there are little way things that you can play in where Don Cheadle would have to basically has to be the dude that has to round up all of this technology for the sake of his friend. I'm just throwing out ideas. I think there's a lot of interesting things that you could kind of tie in that still kind of fit within the universe.
Um. Sorry, I just remembered something. I'm just
Yeah.
doubling back. Okay, wait. No, I think. Um.
The Ten Rings organization.
Yeah, the
That's
Ten Rings, and
yeah.
I
Ten
don't see
Rings.
them. But again, I don't see them as much of a tech person. But I wouldn't be something else. Actually, because far be it, thinking here on the broader strokes, a lot of things that they're doing, they're bringing stuff back from years ago. So like we're getting the leader back finally after 2000 whatever that was. That
Oh yeah.
not
Oh,
saying it's the leader because the leader's going to be in Captain America 4, but
I think I know where you're going with this.
Iron Man 3 brought in AIM, and
Also
we
true.
just got a little bit of a touch of AIM there. And what does AIM love to use?
They love to use tech,
Technology.
technology, which is very big, especially when they're playing genetics and stuff like
Mm-hmm. So you kind of got that little bit of a marriage there of you got the stuff going on with the alien stuff. You got the Stark tech being stolen. Um, I-
And also another player that we forgot, the Broker, which was
oh yes,
that's another player that we're forgetting that would want to,
that's
and
still out there.
that's still out there in Miss Carter, Sharon Carter, who's running that gambit. And remember, she was able to get her hands on the formula, the super serum formula. So she'll be a one would have to think if she was able to get her hands on that, she would totally be able to figure out the resources to get her hands on Tony Stark tech. Which to me, I feel like getting your hands on the soldier form is a lot more higher on the list
It's
than
a
Tony
lot
Stark
more
tech.
difficult, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of
There's a lot of
potential
players.
options here. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of players that wow, yeah, Rhodes is going to have a lot of work tracking all these organizations down.
but again, thinking back, a lot of these have come from the Disney Plus series.
Exactly. Yes.
And Feige said whenever they started announcing that we were going to have these Disney Plus series, that they were going to change the movies and the MCU altogether. That one thing that you see here is going to show up, in a series is going to show up in a movie, and a movie will influence a series, and so forth. And it's just going to be this fantastic marriage, and we're now starting to see that a little more and more and more. Initially not so much, but now that things are really starting to get rolling with the series, uh, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And again, in Feige,
Ooh,
we trust that. That's been my motto, and I'm sticking to it.
yeah. Now I think after now talking about more about Armor Wars, because I'll admit I was even during this podcast that even was announced again, there wasn't a lot of information out there to really get me pumped up or excited about this. But now that we've kind of talked about the different organizations that have now been introduced into the MCU that would want to get a hold of this technology, I think there's a lot that you can sit down and play here, which sadly goes again. This would have been much better as a television show than it being a movie now. Because
I'm not arguing that.
you can explore all of those organizations a lot more in deeper depth. But we are getting a film, so I mean, I'm not entirely upset about it.
I got my Iron Patriot shirt that I will be wearing probably to the premiere of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on, and it's a constant moving puzzle. Well, sometimes movies fall off the schedule, and sometimes other ones pop up. It's no simple task, but we've gotten so much good stuff so far, and there's a lot of promise. The future looks bright. The future looks bright. And speaking of the future, you sent me this beautiful list of things that we're getting in October this month, uh, of uh, of stuff coming to Disney Plus.
Yes. So basically, for everybody, wonderful viewers, basically a lot of things are going to start dropping later this month as well as this week. So basically, I was able to kind of get a wonderful list of stuff that will be happening on Disney Plus, and just to kind of rattle off some names that people may be interested in. One of those is that Dancing with the Stars is actually going to be coming on to Disney Plus. Did you hear about that? Are you a big fan of Dancing with the Stars, Matt?
I haven't watched it as much recently, but I know they're doing. I think their next one is going to be, which is this week's, Bond themed. So
Oh man, spicy.
yeah, I'm a James Bond person. I know it's not Disney, but hey, I can like things that aren't Disney.
Right.
Nanu. So I like James Bond stuff. So yeah, you got the James Bond one. I may tune into that.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting that they pushed Dancing with the Stars to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's also kind of, in some ways, I think it's a almost foreshadowing or a sign of things to come as far as what we know of terrestrial TV.
Yep. Hmm.
Um, and I think in some ways it's only the beginning of we are going to get more things via streaming service one way or another, and less things to terrestrial TV. And you know, not saying it's going to be next year or even the next 5 years, but terrestrial TV is not going to be the same or much of it at all from what we're used to seeing. I mean, heck, Thursday night football is streaming. To watch Thursday night football, you stream it on Amazon Prime.
Which is
Um, a
not the best
lot
product.
a lot of, at least here in the United States, to watch Premier League soccer, you have to stream it on Peacock. Um, Disney's getting, Dancing with the Stars now. You stream it through Disney Plus. So I think that's kind of the direction that media companies are heading in. And so yeah, I'm not surprised that Dancing ended up there. It was a big juggernaut for ABC, and kind of okay. Let's shift our weight to Disney Plus, and we do that with one of our biggest benchmarks.
No, it does make sense. I think you're going to get more of a hybrid model, like you said. I could see that happen. You'll have a hybrid model for maybe the next couple of years until you make the full transition over to streaming, if that is the next step of things. And it's starting right now, like you say. You're starting right now. You're starting to see a lot of this hybrid models between not only can you watch this on cable, but you can also watch this on a streaming service, and sometimes now live. You don't really even have to wait until the next following day. Sometimes they're doing it live right on the spot. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a real thing that's happening right now. Other things are also be dropping out. We're also going to have another episode for Andor for Star Wars. Mighty Ducks: The Game Changers episode 2 will be dropping around October 5th. New show, not probably new show, a Shipwreck Hunters Australia, The Simpsons season 33 will kick off too
That's
really, really
insane.
soon. That's insane. Yeah, man. That show keeps on going forever. Spidey and his amazing friends season 2 will have a 4 episode run around that same time. Puppy Dog Pals for the kids out there. World of Flavor was Big Bo Carson season 1 will also drop. Old school episodes of Zorro seasons 1 and 2. She-Hulk Attorney at Law will continue. It was episode 8, and then the premiere of Marvel's Werewolf by Night, dropping at the end of that. What 7/10. So,
Seven.
yep. So with everything that was kind of mentioned for this week in October, I know that you mentioned it was Dancing with the Stars. What other shows are you happy to watch on Disney Plus?
Obviously Andor. That's been spectacular. So looking forward to that. Keep going. And I mentioned She-Hulk, how much I enjoying that. I'm upset that we're getting near the end of that run, but yeah, we got She-Hulk, Werewolf by Night. That really has me intrigued. And some of the early words that I've been hearing from that is that it walks that fine line between somewhat satire and horror. So you kind of get both ends of it. But the thing that actually I was unaware of until you sent me this, and I'm actually really stoked about, as bizarre as this may sound, is Zorro. Um, yeah, I am a big time classic Disney nut. So I like seeing that stuff being pulled out of the vault and made available to people. Yeah, Davy Crockett, Zorro, um, Edgar Baga, Swamp Fox, all those type of things. So, some great, just old school series that, again, those are the type of things that you could easily sit down with the family and watch and enjoy. The kids may not find it as action packed and exciting. But Zorro, I mean, he runs around with his foil and leaving his mark on people. It's um it's nice to see that it's being given a second life. This is stuff that hasn't been readily available in a long, long time. You used to be able to catch it years ago, years, decades, actually. On the Disney Channel, Disney Channel used to have a block at night um, uh, that, oh my goodness, and the name is escaping me what they used to call it. Vault Disney. So play on Walt Disney and Vault Disney, um, where you would get a lot of these old um, shows. Uh, the opening, they run the special for the opening of Epcot with Danny Kaye and Drew Barrymore walking around this brand new park. So from 81 or 82. You'd had, like I said, Swamp Fox, Zorro, a lot of the old shorts, animated shorts, a lot of older stuff that they would play during this block, which was started like 11 o'clock at night and ran till 7 o'clock in the morning. And they faded that out. So, and since that time, you really hadn't seen that type of things. You also had the tin collections, the DVD collections, but again, that was 20 years ago now that those things came out. Which I got a number of them. I mean, like I have the complete works of Davy Crockett. I have, I think, all the Mickey Mouse ones, Pluto, the Goofy one. So I have a lot of those. But thinking back that it's been that long since those things came out, people don't have access to this stuff anymore. If you try to buy those DVDs now, you're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for them.
Yeah.
Which is insane, but also goes to speak to how in demand some of this stuff is. So bringing back Zorro, putting it on Disney Plus, just because I that's how much I speak about it, how key that is, and also continuing the legacy. This is stuff that Walt worked on. This is stuff that Walt had a passion for. um this is something that he touched, and so we're not forgetting about it, and we're honoring his memory and his legacy and his works by keeping this stuff around. The new stuff is great, and obviously, it's going to keep going and whatnot. But in the 100-year span of that this company has almost been around, let's not also forget about what it has produced and some of the keystone pieces, and Zorro was a keystone piece.
Hey, well said, man. Totally well said. And
Couldn't follow that one up.
no, well said. No, and again, I think it's just a reason why you have a Disney Plus to be able to show all these classics and stuff like that. No, I think that it's great that they're able to bring out all these older classics now, and you can bring it into a digital format too, to be able to, like you said, to be able to share with your family and friends, and be able to support the older aspects of the Disney library. I mean, this is the reason why you get into you our streaming service. No, no, perfectly well said. I don't think I can follow that up.
I mean,
Who's
and
that?
Iger himself said
No.
when they launched Disney Plus is that you will have access to the vault. and meaning these old shows. Now, initially, he said you would have access immediately at the beginning and constantly have it. That hasn't necessarily happened, but the fact that they do keep going back to the vault, bringing these things out onto the streaming service, and giving you access for whatever time period they deem worthy, um, is a testament to keeping these memories in these pieces around and alive, and reminding people of or just people that did see it back in the day. May not be their target audience, but they're not leaving them out either.
Couldn't say any more better, man. All right, beautiful. So yeah, that pretty much it is for what's Disney Plus, man. Is there anything else, man, that you want to say to
Well,
wrap up this wonderful podcast?
yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking forward to. Is there anything on that list that that you're looking forward to?
Werewolves.
Yes, Werewolves by Night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's starting to drop next week. I'm actually kind of really interested to see the art direction. And I think right now, even Marvel did release a sneak peek into how that's going to be produced. I am very interested. It was a different art style and take they're going to go with that old school kind of in the realm of Azaro and how that is shot with the older grainy
Classic monster series.
monster series. So yeah, to me, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how that works. Um, I It wouldn't bother me if it's not tied into the MCU. If it's just completely like a fun, interesting one-off, I would honestly be more okay with that if it were. But if it's tied into the whole zeitgeist of the MCU, that's great. If it's a one-shot, that's also fine. I'm just kind of serious to see what this one-shot episode is. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and the same. I'm fine if it's a standalone and it's all that it is, that and we never hear of anything else from it again. I'm good with that. Every October I'll be looking forward to watching it, as long as I enjoy it, and I'm going to hedge my bets that I will. If it somehow eventually becomes connected, because why not? Then sure, whatever. I'll go with it there. But either way, I'm looking forward to it too. I like the black and white. To me, I think when I think horror films or monster films, I immediately go to the black and white. Not that there's anything wrong with color, but there's just something that adds a little something to it being in black and white.
Well said. Yeah, could agree around. Pumped with it. Looking forward to it.
So, and on that bombshell, Isaac, thank you for joining us yet again, and bringing us such wealth of knowledge and things to look forward to, and keeping us abreast of everything that's happening out there, at least on the Marvel end.
Oh no, man, definitely, man. That's what I'm here for. Finding some information and stuff for you guys.
We appreciate it. And we'll be talking soon. Thank you again to Isaac for joining us this week to discuss the many things going on, particularly on the Marvel side, but including Disney Plus and all that fun stuff. What do you think about some of this stuff coming out, some of the news coming out of Marvel? Deadpool 3, are you looking forward to it? Are you excited about Logan? The things about Blade, are you concerned? Are you okay with? Let us know. Join the conversation. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/WDMagicCast. On Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, we are at WDMagicCast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can also hear the audio version of the show there, plus some other content that will be popping up from time to time. So always make sure to check back. If you want to be heard on the show, Leave us a voice message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record your own message and send it to us electronically to the email address, or also any questions or suggestions you may have, to email at wdmagiccast.com. If you have any questions, please send them your way. We'll answer them on the show. Links to all of these are in the show notes. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have, and the fact that you get to spend, or you do spend, some of your precious, valuable time with us really, again, I know I always say this, but it really means a lot. It really means a lot to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And even though we can't see each other, even though we can't talk directly, we are friends. We do appreciate you, and we are happy you're a part of our family, and we're happy to be part of your family. As always, if I could ask you, please go on to Apple Podcasts, to Spotify, to rate the show. We have all 5-star reviews currently going on. More would be great, because it would just help people find out about the show. Or you can tell people about the show. Share the link out on your social networks. Check out this episode that we talked about. Matthew goes on a weird rant about crazy people trying to create news and saying things about stuff. Whatever. Just share out the links, or go on and leave a rating. Help spread the word. Because Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. The more people we have involved, the better it is for everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really help the show out. You can do this over at anchor.fm/wdmagiccast/support, or find our Patreon page. You can also check out some of the cool merchandise that we have on our merchandise shop, which we got some new stuff coming out soon. Not yet, but soon. Get some fun WD Magic Cast stuff. You can find links to all these also in the show notes, because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever darkness seems to have surrounded you and made things seem impossible, don't give up. Look deep within yourself, and you will find the light. It will guide you to where you need to be. Be your own hero. Never give up, never get in, and let the light shine for all to see. Never be afraid to ask for help. Help will always be given to those who need it. Now I'd like to end this show with a quote, of course, from Walt Disney himself. Next to his own most intimate self-concerns, man is most fascinated by creatures of the animal kingdom. They have been close to his interest and his fate from time beyond the ark. And that's from Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.